Hello, this is Timothy, speaking to you from the swamps of Savannah, Georgia. It is August 2018. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd. And there must be a new or a full moon around the corner, which is when these videos come out. We're talking about a full moon coming up this Sunday, August 26th, in the sign of the fishes, that's Pisces. Now, there's a lot of coming together and turning around and trickling in happening these weeks. And this is because, fortunately, planets are not apparently retrograde forever from our current viewpoint here on Earth. And there's been a lot of apparently retrograde planets going on this last month. 7 to be exact, including Chiron, which is very unusual for so many planets to be moving apparently backwards. There's been a lot of reviewing, renewing, trial and error, things not exactly going according to plan, causing us to reflect, causing us to try new directions and new paths. And so fortunately, Mercury has just stationed direct this last Sunday, the 19th of August. And we can say that the next couple weeks, Mercury will be coming out of shadow and coming into some more so regained clarity, sense of direction, and communication and traveling can smoothen out a little bit than it's been. However, Mercury is more than just this. There is a purpose to Mercury retrograde. And this Mercury retrograde, which lasted from the end of July up until this week, has largely been about reflecting on our sense of individual purpose. This Mercury retrograde happening in the sign of Leo could have potentially taken us back in time, meeting old friends from childhood, family members, etc., that are allowing us to reflect on what is that sense of specialness coming from childhood, or just coming from our own unique identity. I say childhood because I like to correlate Leo and the sun with this feeling of being a child, that feeling of specialness that we have when we're young, that sense that we can grow up and be anything. You know, when I grow up, I'll be an astronaut. When I grow up, I'll be a scuba diver. And that sense of specialness, and we can do it, and we are unique and gifted who we are. And so this Mercury retrograde is still this reviewing and finding that connection with this sense of purpose. And we see a similar theme with this approaching full moon this weekend, the 26th. This full moon in Pisces also can really illuminate the sense of purpose. A reason to wake up in the morning, a reason to live, that sense of energy and excitement that gives us the sense of adventure, of being a human being. Well, this Pisces full moon can also illuminate this sense of connecting to something bigger than ourselves, being a part of the whole and contributing our own unique self-expression back in some type of way that gives us that sense of real fulfillment. And of course, when we're talking about reality, the greatest fulfillment does come from offering our individuality back to the collective in some way, and finding that service and purpose that gives us the reason for living in itself is some of the most inspiring jet fuel that we can taste as human beings. Now, this isn't the only planet stationing and turning around these weeks. We also have Mars stationing direct at the 28th degree of Capricorn this next Monday, August 27th. And so this is a 2-month Mars retrograde period, which is also reaching a critical turning point. Mars deals with our sense of direction, also has to do with who we are as an individual. Mars is our fundamental energy. It is the physical endurance, the blood pumping through our veins that gives us the confidence and the capability to initiate new directions, break into new fundamental projects or possibilities, and actually be able to do it. Mars is about doing, it's about action. It's not just simply about believing, but making our beliefs real, constructing in reality what our individual drive and passion is truly wanting to lead us forward. Now, Mars stationing at the final degrees of Capricorn in particular can deal with this sense of social responsibility. Again, just like this Pisces full moon, well, Mars is stationing the day after this full moon in Pisces in the sign of Capricorn, which also can deal with how we're contributing back to the world, to society, that gives us that sense of purpose and meaning. So this is a wonderful opportunity with this Mars stationing. Now we can start to set forth in new directions. This can be the beginning of new projects. This can be a connection to new social endeavors, or having a role in the world that allows us to be more fulfilled in the unique individual that we are and contributing back to the whole in some way that does give us that sense of true meaning and significance. Now, a part of this Mars stationing in Capricorn can therefore also be a reviewing on the past. Old social expectations and obligations, who we thought we had to be to our world, society, parents, family, bosses, etc., etc. There can also be a deconditioning that's happening these weeks. And this is so critically important because this Mars retrograde isn't finished. Even when Mars stations direct, he's still going to be moving through his shadow the next month of September. And so there's this still finding exactly what this is. It is coming together now. And I do encourage us to tune into our passion, our deep feelings, and what allows that drive to feel truly clean, to feel truly right. Yes, this is who we are. Yes, this is what we want to be doing. And this can include removing some of the obstacles that get in the way of this clean feeling actualization of our power, our intention, and our capability to overcome the challenges of life. Well, some of those challenges could be more so made apparent these next couple months. This is where my energy gets thwarted or depleted or drained. Or these are the societal expectations that limit my sense of individuality or oppresses my inner child, makes me feel drained and like I can't be creative or I can't be special because the world, the family wants this, that, and the other from me. And in order to make money and feel safe, I have to sacrifice my true intention and just put my nose to the grind and bust these things out. You know, these can be themes that we're really looking at. We can also be looking at themes of guilt. I've been doing things this way for so long and it just doesn't seem right. Or it feels like there's something dirty or not clean about how I've been using my energy, my willpower, and Mars also deals a lot with sexuality. So Mars stationing at the final degrees of Capricorn can be deconditioning, socially imposed sexuality, or how we handle our energy, our drive, our direction. These societal standards in terms of what it means to be a man. So you've got to be tough, and you've got to be mean, and you've got to be cold because you're the one that's going to war and fighting the battles and having to work in the factories. At least this was the long outstanding story, right? And this is no longer the story anymore. We don't live in this world anymore. These things are not really even possible anymore the way they were in the past due to the internet technology, due to breaking through sexual limitations and stigmas that actually have nothing to do with nature or reality. So we can be reflecting on the past, again, family, childhood, and where the instruction, the conditioning, got in the way of actualizing that sense of purpose, specialness, and exuberance, the freedom, the creativity of the inner child. This is who I am. This is what I'm meant to do. This is my soul's song and contribution back to the whole. And so we're looking at, is this really what I want to do? Or is this being driven by society? Is this really giving something to the world in a meaningful way? Am I contributing to something that is actually giving me a feeling of well-being and contribution in a constructive and a positive way? Or am I just a part of the machine? Am I contributing to an old, outdated system that is actually feeding the problems or contributing to the patriarchy. And when we say patriarchy, what do we mean is the machine, the old social standards. It wasn't a matter of so much just men being better than women. This was a misled byproduct of the various social constructs that have existed for millennia. And these social constructs are now oppressive. They're limiting to both men and women. And so women similarly, oh, you've got to shut down your emotions. You've got to be strong. Or in order to participate in the world, you've got to compete with other men. And other men are scary and they are cold, so you've got to do the same. Or you've got to be the opposite. You've got to be in the kitchen, or you've got to be cleaning up this or that, or you've always got to put a smile on your face, because that type of forceful oppression also feeds into the machine of our social constructs. So this is an opportunity to begin new structures, new projects, new endeavors. This can be a very exciting time. There can be a tremendous amount of ambition, and I so much encourage you to harness this ambition. Even if it's not exactly certain, step by step, this is what we're going to do for the next 10 years. That feeling of energy and ambition is what is going to lead us forward. And it's almost like breaking in a new pair of shoes or a new pair of pants. It's seeing what really fits. This feels fresh, this feels open, this feels new, is a great way of discerning that this new direction can be very successful and very fulfilling. And this feels old, this feels like I'm sacrificing myself, this feels like I'm just going back into old, redundant, crusty, rusty patterns, is obviously what we're breaking through, what we're chiseling through. Now, this is a period where there can still be a lot of back and forth. There can be frustration and challenges, this trial and error of seeing what really works, and experimentation. Can we do it this way? How much time do we have to wait? What can we start with now? What can we start assimilating these days? And I encourage us to start beginning. Align yourself with this new direction. Open yourself to these new possibilities, even if it doesn't seem perfectly together yet. One baby step after the next, things can really start to come together this next month. We have a beautiful grand trine in Earth coming up this next week of August. The sun is moving from Leo into Virgo this Thursday, August 23rd, and then will form this grand Earth trine between Saturn in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus this Saturday, August 25th. Well, Sun in Virgo will begin here. This next month is a tremendous opportunity to focus our intention, to find that sense of role and service and contribution that makes us feel like we're getting stuff done. We're cleaning out the old room and house. It's a wonderful time of purging and rearranging and revising and refining to get the best possible product, the best possible schedule, the best possible diet and health routine and workout plan, to start making these things real, to start moving in a crystal clear direction, to anchor our dreams and our vision with this world. And again, this Saturn is retrograde. This Uranus is retrograde in these earth signs. We are not doing it the old societally driven or ordained way. Rather, we can find new health regimens, new systems, new projects that can be rather ahead of their own time, or forward thinking, or humanitarian in their nature. And this, again, is what actually will evoke more excitement, more sense of purpose, as well as what can actually guarantee more success. By being willing to take the risk of doing something differently, we can actually open up ourselves and then become a leader of what is actually the more improved, better way of doing things. This next month of Virgo season is about refining and adjusting, almost like being the potter at the wheel, until everything is shaped just the right way, up until that final insignia. You know, this is what Jeff Green, the founder of evolutionary astrology, correlates to Virgo, is that final tweaking, everything being just perfect. And this can be enjoyable. You know, this doesn't just have to be work. This is a masterpiece. This is like artwork. We get to refine our own lives, our own expression, our connection to the world, and our connection in relationships in a way that is better functioning, more healthy, and more connected with the natural rhythms of this earth. Virgo is the high priestess. She is connected to the earth. She is the medicine woman. She is in tune with her body. And this is what makes her capable of being a healer and a helper to others in the world. This begins with ourself. Another key word for Virgo is self-autonomy. We do need to have healthy boundaries, enough to focus on our own healing, enough to be strong and confident to offer these things back to others. So one of the keys here, relationships. Relationships is a big theme going on this summer of 2018. A lot of this Mars retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and soon to be followed with a Venus retrograde is a lot of reflecting on what we value, how we are sharing what we cherish and value back to others and the world, and finding this mutual balance and harmony in relationships that is actually mutually supportive, that actually functions and works healthily and harmoniously, and allows us to therefore come together more intimately, as well as be able to share our own unique individual gifts without conflict or without disbalance. And so Venus is coming up to a square with Pluto this Sunday, August 26th. And then we'll come up and square Mars September 8th. Venus is moving into her shadow of her forthcoming retrograde coming up September 2nd, moves into Scorpio September 9th, and stations retrograde at the 10th degree of Scorpio on October 10th. So this Venus squaring Pluto this weekend, August 26th, this is about transformation in terms of how we do relationship dynamics. Again, there's an intention of Venus in her own sign of Libra, harmony, justice, equality, not only in our relationships, but in the world and society and nations as well. There needs to be changes. These old ways of doing relationships, old societally ordained structures do not work to the best capabilities of what we can do. And so there is this deep exploration. And sometimes when Venus comes into a square with Pluto, there can also be frustration because there can be this passion. Let's make changes. I am passionate about this. This is what I value. This is what I need to actualize in myself, as well as to have in a relationship, to be healthily, to have my own relationship needs met. And so when Venus squares Pluto, sometimes the things that get shoved under the rug, the passions that we've suppressed, the desires that we've ignored, they can erupt. They can become dragged out from beneath the surface. That way we can see everything and lay it all out and say, this is what's working and this is what isn't. And we do need to do things in a new way. And it's really a great time to be laying these things out on the table because it may not all be totally figured out right now, not with Venus retrograde taking us through the next several months. Rather, there is so much potential for us to evolve how we relate to ourselves and how we share ourselves with others. So it's not just who we're connecting with, it's how we're connecting with others, is going through this experimental phase. That way we can really explore how to do intimacy and connection, right? Because Venus is stationing in Scorpio in October. How to do intimacy and connection in a way that actually allows for that reciprocal, mutual support, justice, equality, harmony, and balance, because Venus will roll back and station retrograde again in her own sign of Libra coming up this November 16th. And so 25 degrees Libra is where Venus will be September 2nd. She'll come back and station at 25 degrees Libra November 16th. So 10 degrees of the fixed signs and the latter degrees of the cardinal signs is where a lot of action can happen with this Venus retrograde. This also plays out in sexuality. How can we actualize our passions, our deep desires that can come from sometimes a very mysterious area? Scorpio, the unconsciousness. Many of our sexual desires, many of our passions don't always conceptually make sense, yet they exist. They're powerful. How do we share these things? How do we have a functioning relationship where there's balance and harmony, and we can have our desires met, and we can enjoy ourselves and have that deep, intimate bond merging together in a way that can actually coexist and not just beat each other up or judge one another, or project these old relationship values on each other. I'm the man, I'm the women, women need to do this more, men need to do this more. Well, get ready for a lot of reflection and reviewing and transformation of all these dynamics, beginning even this weekend, the 26th, with Venus squaring Pluto. We've got a lot of asteroid configurations happening these weeks as well that also tends to play out in relationship, family, intimate realm, And so we have asteroid Ceres, which deals with our capability to nurture ourselves. Ceres is going through Virgo, which can deal a lot with our sense of service, can also deal with food and body related issues, really looking at these things and that sense of purity and cleanliness and healthy, that feeling again is where a lot of refining and adjusting can take place this next month with the sun in Virgo. That's allowing us to feel more nurtured. And it's very important, a random tangent, when it comes to food, body dysmorphia, disorders, all these things, there's not a one-size-fits-all way to handle these things. Like go on a hard-ass diet or stop doing these things. Oftentimes it's a lot deeper, more symbolic, and Ceres is about nurturance. We can nurture ourselves with food, but there's a healthy way to do it. We can nurture ourselves with working out and being strong, but there's a healthy way to do it. So this is part of this investigation, and that Ceres is square to asteroid Vesta in Sagittarius, which is this wanting to focus and being able to do work best through that sense of openness and adventure, that creativity that we're harnessing with our role in that and our work. And as we're finding that perfect balance, there can be this need to balance family and obligations to other with spaciousness for ourself, our own self-autonomy, our own need for healthy boundaries. Again, that Virgo dynamic of balancing, taking care of ourselves and our contribution back to society and others. Asteroid Juno, the partnership asteroid, is also square to asteroid Pallas Athena. This can create a need to find that balance of space and contribution, even in actualizing our own creativity. And again, we can really find value in our own creative expression this moon cycle. This last new moon was a solar eclipse in Leo. New moons always sow a seed for the whole forthcoming month. So this last new moon in Leo is about actualizing our creative self-expression. That new moon was also conjoined with asteroid Pallas Athena. This is the part of my last video that got cut off at the end. But long story short, that last new moon with Pallas Athena has a visionary type of dynamic this whole month. And now we have this full moon in Pisces coming up the 26th. This opportunity to align our creative vision with who we are and what we're doing. So much power and potential here. This full moon at the 3rd degree of Pisces is happening Sunday, August 26th at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, this full moon is sextile to Saturn, sextile to Uranus. The same time the sun is forming this grand trine in Earth between Saturn in Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus. So there's this real capability to take this vision of Pisces, the sense of being connected to something bigger than ourselves, the sense of there being a meaning and a purpose to life, This is what allows us to come out of the sense of feeling lost or empty or meaningless. Pisces is that capability to connect and fill up our own glass by being connected to the whole. While these aspects with Saturn and Uranus in earth signs is the capability to really integrate this vision, to embody it, to anchor it, to make it real. This isn't just a lofty, airy-fairy, believe our visions and intentions into reality just by writing it down or believing it or looking at pictures. How are we making these things real? Where is the effort? Where is the work happening? Asteroid Vesta is trine to Pallas. There's this opportunity to really be dedicated to an idea, inspired by a cause, and harness that creative energy, harness that ambition and power of this Mars stationing in Capricorn, and set it to work. Break out of the old ruts. Break out of the old bad habits and fill those holes with what is new. This is the way to break out of the old. This is the way to cure old addictions. We can't just army, militia break out without there being something to look forward to. We need that vision. We need that optimism. We need that opportunity to do new and exciting and open things, like going on an adventure, like traveling, like doing a new creative thing. And that's what allows us to pull ourselves out by grabbing onto something that's filling us up. So here's the potential, this new vision of the world, this connection to something bigger than ourselves. Even if it's not totally here yet, follow the trail of breadcrumbs of that feeling, that inspiration. You know, Pisces can be inconceivable. This full moon in Pisces is our emotions, our feelings. I feel drawn in this direction. I don't know why. I'm being called to this particular place or this particular person. Just feels like that's where the universe is calling me. Follow that call. Pisces is like allowing ourselves to trust fall and surrender into that lazy man's river carrying us forward, which is actually the divine dance of life. It is that divine flow, that essence, that musical symphony, which is actually within and in between all things. We are all interconnected with that divine flow. That divine flow is always leading us forward, and by surrendering to that. Sorry, the camera shut off. Sometimes the divine flow seemingly is interrupted. That being said, this is what's happening these weeks. This sense of purpose, coming back to the inner child, contributing something back to the world that gives us a reason to live. Now, this is so important in the big picture perspective as well, because there's what's going on these weeks and there's what's going on these years. Now, these years, Pluto is going over his own south node, soon to be conjoined with Saturn and Jupiter in early 2020. Again, this is really bringing up the old societal constructs, the machine, the patriarchy, and these long outstanding historical patterns that do not actually serve our collective well-being, but rather need to be adjusted and changed. So long story short, these can be some rather dark years. We are seeing the bottom of the barrel of our own collective unconsciousness and these societally conditioned themes that are coming out of man-made synthetic reality and prevent our harmonious connection with nature and being able to live in a more peaceful, well-balanced way. And so again, this sense of connecting to something bigger than ourselves, well, there are dark ages and there are golden ages. This divine dance is a part of everything. And so even looking at the ugliest, the darkest, the good, bad, and ugly of life, the full spectrum, this also can be jet fuel for the sense of purpose. I am born into a world that's not perfect. I am born into a world with so many problems, which means that I get to be a hero. I get to be a pioneer. I get to be a healer and contribute what I know is improved or healthy back. And that's what gives us a sense of meaning and purpose. Even if everything's not perfect, even if things don't go perfectly according to plan, like the camera shut off just now, or my plumbing is leaking up beneath the floors and the toilets back at home right now, that doesn't have to prevent that sense of, well, there is this bigger picture and there is this deeper meaning, and this light at the end of the tunnel can give us that breath of fresh air. So to move through the difficult, trivial, mundane aspects of being human being without being weighed or dragged down. So again, I am so much wishing the best to yourself, your tribe, your family, relationships, and all of your beloveds. If for any reason you are interested in what's happening on my own end, I have a number of projects and new faces and people I'm hoping to work with this next month. I'm excited for this next month, being able to get down to business and focus it a little bit more in the world in a practical way. And so, if you would like to be a part of my own creative process and offer some support for these readings, feel free to join my Patreon page. We just created a new Rasalila Healing online forum community. For all Patreons, you can post questions personally for me about astrology, spirituality, or otherwise. Connect with other like minds. I also offer a monthly question and answer session live and recorded, as well as a monthly written horoscope. And so all of this is available for Patreons. I so much appreciate your support. Or if you're interested in a personal astrology reading, you can get in touch with me through my website at rasalilahealing.com. And again, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to do this work, for your continued support, and I am so much wishing the best to yourself, your tribe, beloveds, family, and friends. Please do take care.